Peter Parker is spending his nights hanging upside down in pitch-black rooms, scrolling through the bright, successful lives his former friends are living without him. He watches MJ and Ned navigate the elite campus of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology from afar. They are building their futures, while he is frozen in place, obsessively tracking a world he deliberately chose to leave behind. If you asked Peter, he'd describe this absolute isolation as an act of selfless heroism. By letting Dr. Strange erase his identity, he believes he's permanently removing the target from the backs of the people he loves. We can track the specific cost of that choice by looking at Aunt May's headstone. The date of her death marks the events of the multiversal memory wipe in 2024, which places the events of this new era in 2028. After 4 years of solitary mourning, Peter's vigilantism looks less like a tactic and more like a refusal to heal. Peter has witnessed everyone close to him end up in harm's way, leading him to live a lonely life nearly 24/7 to avoid further attachments. This behavior of snapping every tether and hiding from those who care about him demonstrates an insecure avoidant attachment style, a psychological shield used to make loneliness feel safe and predictable. This total isolation functions as a self-sabotaging trauma response. Peter is attempting to protect his friends by becoming a ghost, ensuring he never has to risk the pain of another loss. The human mind can only contain unexpressed trauma for so long. Eventually, the psychological pressure of total social isolation seeks a biological escape route. Somatic symptom and conversion theory explains how unexpressed emotional pain eventually manifests as physical symptoms or biological anomalies. When the mind refuses to process a fractured self, the body mirrors that internal chaos. We see this as Peter loses control over basic movements. The terrifying appearance of organic webbing bursting through his skin means his stress exceeds his body's limits. This biological breakdown mirrors the 2005 comic storyline, The Other. In that arc, Peter undergoes a traumatic evolution, shedding his old identity and emerging from a webbing cocoon high atop the Brooklyn Bridge. Peter's sudden biological evolution functions as a distress signal from a fractured psyche. His powers are changing because his mind cannot sustain his anonymous lie. The mutation is also warping his behavior. The measured, quippy hero is giving way to a fighter who relies on extreme brutality, taking out years of repressed anger on street-level criminals. This diagram illustrates the Jungian shadow, the primitive, violent impulses that the conscious mind refuses to acknowledge. When those instincts are buried rather than integrated, the shadow grows and eventually begins to consume the personality. By hiding his grief for 4 years, Peter has allowed his shadow to take control. This internal darkness is reaching its endpoint, visually manifesting in his terrifying all-black eyes. Repressing this emotional pain has accelerated Peter's transformation. He is becoming the very monster he is trying to fight. Desperate to stop this loss of control, Peter looks for a way to cure his mutation. This search forces him to choose between 2 extreme models of how a hero handles their inner darkness. Bruce Banner offers the path of scientific containment. He spent years building a lifestyle of rigid emotional suppression, ensuring the monster underneath never breaks through. Frank Castle represents the opposite extreme, a total, remorseless surrender to the shadow. He embraces lethal violence as his only way to exist. Peter is psychologically trapped. Both suppression and total violent surrender are dead ends that failed to address the trauma driving his transformation. Audiences naturally want a happy ending, where Peter magically undoes the memory wipe and reunites with MJ. We want him to return to the comfort of his high school circle. But adulthood involves leaving those social circles behind and accepting that some life chapters permanently close. Moving forward requires building new relationships as an adult, rather than clinging to a past that no longer exists. Psychological maturity requires Peter to integrate his trauma and his shadow into a new, unified identity. He cannot cure his mutation by going backward. He has to evolve through it. Does Peter's evolution represent a long-awaited comic-accurate upgrade, or are we watching the tragic biological fallout of a hero who stayed isolated for too long?